If you ever wanted a movie where your #1 emotion was, I know that thing, this is the movie for you. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is Peach down here chewing off our arms.
Yes, here's Peach.
Yeah, she's chewing on everything, so we have to bring her up here. She likes to be on camera.
Yes.
She's very happy to be on camera. Anyway, this is our post-Geekout reaction for Ready Player One, the new Steven Spielberg film based on the popular book that I haven't read.
Neither have I.
Even though my sister got it for me for Christmas, so...
Yeah, we haven't gotten around to reading it, but
I think the reason why we haven't gotten around to reading it is because we actually said we haven't gotten around to watching it. It's like, can you give me like an audiobook form of this thing? No. There's no pictures in this thing, no. I'm not that much of a simpleton that I don't know how to read. It's more just... I've heard really bad stuff about the book. I know the people who love the book. But the vast majority of people I know is like, yeah, it's just random crap all over the place. It's crazy anime bullshit. That's all it is.
And I heard a lot of people were criticizing this movie because they think it was going to be like
I heard a lot of people hesitant going into this.
Yeah, but
most of the critics coming out of it have actually been pretty positive.
Yeah, and honestly, I enjoyed it too.
I would say that this film is 50%, oh hey, I know that thing that they just said. That's neat, I guess. And the other 50% is like an actually fun story that's kind of full of a lot of heart.
Yeah,
it actually does really speak to what makes geeks geeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I feel like people who criticize this movie for the pop culture references are the same people who like criticize Wreck-It Ralph for all the video game references. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of part of the story. It's
kind of part of the premise.
Yeah.
And also, like, I know a lot of people out there is like, I saw a tweet, I wish I could remember who tweeted this out, but it's perfect. He said, me. Ready Player One, that just looks ridiculous. Also me, honey, come in here and look at the TV screen. And then it was a screen cap of Injustice 2 of Leonard from the Ninja Turtles fighting Darkseid. And I was like, yeah man, we like this stuff. We have to, it's a thing. Like, Injustice 2, one of the reasons people love that game so much is because it's a game where Batman can fight Hellboy, who can fight the Ninja Turtles, who can fight Sub-Zero. It's like, yeah man, this is a thing now. We kind of dig giant crazy ass crossovers.
Why do you think everyone's so excited about Smash? Like
yeah, dude. Man, that's another thing. I saw someone out there saying like the most unbelievable thing about Ready Player One is that all these properties would agree to be in the same thing. And I just was like, we're literally watching a movie where they all agreed to be in the same thing. Literally, you're watching it on screen. It's like, Spielberg didn't steal Tracer and just hope Blizzard wouldn't notice. It's just, they went up there and was like, hey, do you want her to be in the game? It's like, yeah, okay, it's done. And also, it's like, if you want to talk about like an actual video game, it's like, yeah, man, the last Smash Bros. Ryu, Cloud, Bayonetta, Mario, Sonic, Pac-Man. How many fucking Fire Emblem characters? Yeah, man, it's a thing that can happen these days. So yeah, it's not that hard of a thing to like buy, like, oh, this is a thing that exists. Plus, also, this is 40 years in the future. Well, no, like 30 years in the future.
Yeah, like, I think the book was, like, written in the 80s or something.
Something like that?
Yeah, but, like, considering, like, how advanced technology is now, this is not that far off. Like, in 40 years or something...
Dude, with VR these days?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, VR chat, you see, like, people, like, running around as, like, Sonic the Hedgehog and everything. It's
yeah,
like...
man, it's... Technology-wise, I could actually believe something like this existed.
Yeah.
But also, if you are, like, a big naysayer of, like, how can all these things exist, like... Again, just stop and think for the fact that the most up-to-date thing in this game is Tracer from Overwatch, and at that point, she's going to be, you know, 40 years old, or, you know, what, like 35? Yeah, like 35 years old, and it's like, yeah, man, it's... By that point, Tracer probably wouldn't be that expensive. You could probably grab her up and put her in this game. Plus, with the way that nostalgia never fucking dies, I could see this keeping around.
Yeah, like, that's another thing, like, there's a lot of nostalgia factor in this, too.
There's a shit ton in here. Like I said... One of the big complaints that people have with like the whole premise of this is that they think it's just going to be nothing but, oh, hey, they said this thing. And there is some of that in there. Yeah, there's a lot of times in which like somebody would go, it's this thing, and I'd just be like, it sure is.
Yeah, but like sometimes it actually like fits in
sometimes
with
it works.
Yeah, like basically like the creator of Oasis, like when they were like referring back to like his memories and everything, it's like, oh yeah, like that was a thing back then. So
yeah, and that's one of the coolest things about this is that when you eventually like get to the end of this film, which by the way, we do go spoilers on this thing. We'll try and like hold off on them till the end for the people who haven't seen the film yet, but you know, just realize there will come a point in which we will start spoiling some stuff. But at the end of this film, when you kind of like get a glimpse of what it was like for him growing up, and you realize, oh shoot, when you factor in like his age and think about like, yeah, he grew up like playing games in the 80s.
Yes.
So like he actually did like embrace all this stuff. All the things you're seeing in here, it would make sense for him to want to program all that into a game. Also like all of his crazy like references back to like 80s pop culture that he's constantly making. Yeah.
Yeah, like he grew up with that, so it makes sense. Like
exactly. It's like even if you didn't grow up with it, I mean, there is a riddle in here that comes down to something from an Atari game, and I was like, dude, I know 18-year-olds who know this fact because there's just cool trivia like that, you know, if you're a geek and you're involved in geek culture, you're gonna kind of want to hold on to. And I kind of really dug that. I'm not gonna spoil what it is until later on in this thing. So yeah, that's the thing that gets me about this film, is that it really does kind of speak to like what it means to be a geek, because the greatest thing that this film has going for it is just when it came out, because this is a film about this big online gaming community where everyone comes together. It's something that the entire world is involved in. Hold on, our dog is sniffing our Switch.
Beach. No, you can't play the Switch. You don't have thumbs for it.
Just hitting the pads. She'd love it. Yeah, it's this big online gaming community, and everyone is into this thing. Like, the opening of this thing, you see people playing it all around the world, and it's VR headsets, so it's, yeah, people on the street with these things on, like, everyone is doing this. And it honestly kind of reminded me of, like, when World of Warcraft was at its peak, and it was like, everyone's doing this. Like, there are people who invest their entire life savings into this game, and if you die, you lose everything you're holding on to. And there is a moment in which some guy, like in the opening of this, you see a guy get killed, and then it cuts to like a cubicle room in Japan, and some guy steps up, throws his headset off, and goes, "No!" And then he starts running for the window. I was like, are they actually going to do this? And he gets tackled. Yeah, it doesn't actually happen, but I was like, yeah, man, it reminds me of like all of...
Like, I kind of felt like there should be like rules about when to use your VR headset. Like, I don't know if like...
That is one of the questions that I kind of had about this. I could kind of buy some of it because it is in the future, and it's like, you know, gaming is such a thing. Like, I remember like a couple of years ago when like phones were becoming like so much of a bigger thing in which you could do more with phones than just text and call. Yeah. And it was like, if I see your phone at work, you're fucking fired instantly. Yeah. Now, you go to any store, it's just like, yeah, I'm on the fucking phone. It's whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm on my phone now talking to you too. So I was like, all right, I can kind of understand it.
Maybe, but it's like...
Plus, that guy could have been on his break. We don't know.
Maybe, but...
But yeah, it reminded me of when World of Warcraft was at its peak, and you were hearing all these stories about like, yeah, this guy died because he never left his chair, because he just kept playing that game over and over again. It's like, yeah, okay. And hey man, I love Overwatch. I'm a massive fan of it. There have been moments in which I have had to go to the bathroom playing Overwatch and be like, oh god, oh god. And then eventually I'd be like, Michelle, play the game for me, because I'm not letting my team die because I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, I'm not as bad as some people. I have heard those horror stories about like, yeah, I know a guy who pooped himself while playing World of Warcraft. I ain't that guy, but I am the guy who will hold on as long as I can and then have to get someone to sub for me. So yeah, it's like, I can kind of understand people freaking their shit in this, and like, I can understand like the impact that it has. Like, it makes sense to me. But the creator of it died 5 years ago, and the creator of it, what was his name? Haaland, something like that?
Holiday?
Something like that. Something like that.
Hollandaise.
Horseradish. But anyway, he died 5 years ago, and in the trailer, when you see him, you see the message they leave people of like, if you're watching this, I'm probably dead. And I was watching like, dear God, this guy is just so like doped up, and he's just so like, this actor does not want to be here. But when you watch him in the movie, it's like, oh, it's not that the actor didn't want me there. He captured socially awkward nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
He nailed that. I gotta find that actor's name. But yeah, man, it was like really damn impressive. Watching like
this is exactly the kind of guy you would expect to create like this internet world.
Have you ever seen the creator of Overwatch get out there to talk about like a new patch that they're doing? It's the exact, like, you can tell this guy watched him in like press conferences. Peach, stop trying to dig through the floor. His name is Anorak? That's not it.
No.
Wait, that's the guy, isn't it? Am I wrong? Oh, jeez. Okay. That can't be his full character name. Whatever, it's Mark Rylance is playing him. Anywho, so he basically said, all right, I'm dead. I've hidden 3 Easter eggs in this game.
No, he hidden 3 keys to like get to the Easter egg.
Okay, yeah, my bad. And you have to like basically solve all these riddles and find a way to get to them. And that was 5 years ago, and in 5 years, no one has figured any of them out.
Yes, because like the challenges to get to the keys were like crazy hard. Like no one was able to do it.
Yeah, like it took like years, and someone finally cracked one of the clues, and it opened up a portal when they cracked it, and opened it up into a racing game. And no one in all these years has been able to finish that racing game. And now we're gonna kind of start getting like a little bit of spoilery stuff. But I'm getting into a little spoilery stuff now because it does like prove what this movie really speaks to. He has to go and he has to watch.
The main protagonist.
The main protagonist has to go and watch all these footage of his life, basically, of the creator's life, and he finally is able to figure out the answer to the race, which is go backwards. Don't go forward, drive backwards as fast as you can as soon as the race begins, and then a secret passage opens up, and that takes you underground all this and drops you out there at the end. And I love that. Because what do for anybody who watches us on Twitch, for anybody who watches me play through Twitch, especially the current Bayonetta run that we're currently doing, what have I said every single time a level starts? Turn around, look behind you in a video game. As soon as a level starts, always stop, turn around, look behind you. There's probably a secret there. That's literally the way that they answered it. And I was like, that's really damn good. Way to go. Peach, stop eating my hand.
She's getting very nibbly.
Very nibbly. Nom, 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 nom. Okay. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. But then at the same time, there's also tons of other stuff in there in which it's like, like when you see all the cars that everyone has at the race, like, you know, the main character, his name, what's his name in the game? Parzival.
Yes.
His name in real life is Wade something.
Wade Watts.
Wade Watts, that's it.
Yeah.
But in the game, his name is Parzival. And he spies this other person there, Artemis. And he goes, hey, how are you? Hello. He spies this other racer, Artemis. He goes, hey, and he contacts his friend H. And says, hey, H, do you see that down there? And then H looks over and just goes, yeah, it's the bike from Akira. And I was like, yeah, okay, man. I get it. It's a game. All right, yeah, it's fun references. Okay. But another thing that I gotta say about like that scene that really kind of like speaks to like sort of geeky culture is he goes, no, it's gotta be Artemis. I've watched all of her Let's Plays. I've watched all of her walkthroughs. I've watched her Twitch streams. And I was like, this is the first time in my life I have seen a movie where someone says something like, I watched this walkthrough, I watched this Twitch stream. No, she's fine. I watched this Twitch stream, and it didn't sound like a 50-year-old dude who didn't understand what these words meant typing them down.
Now, speaking of 50-year-old men who didn't know what to do, like the company...
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a company called IOI, and they're the ones who have been trying to like obtain the rights to Oasis.
Yeah. Because they're the second biggest company in the world, and they said, well, if they get Oasis, they'll be the first biggest company in the world. Which, here's one of my problems with this movie. I don't know what IOI does.
Doesn't like IOI like stand for in something online in like...
In something? But what does that mean?
Like, don't they, like, they engineer, like, they modify stuff for... I don't...
Yeah, we don't know. It's a very, like, vague businessy business.
Yeah.
Business. Is this working? Yes. Yeah! Yeah, like, that's one of my small problems. Like, okay, what do you do exactly? I know you do, like, technology stuff, but, like, do you run, like, what exactly is your business doing that, like, basically... Because the only thing that we really see them doing is we see, like, them forcing people into slave labor to work inside of Oasis. And I was like, so are you just like a mining company in there? Because like that is an actual thing in games like World of Warcraft. Like in China, that's an actual industry of gold mining in these video games. Like they basically just have people who all their job is all day long is just going mine gold, mine gold, mine gold, mine gold, mine gold. Then they sell that to people in the real world who want this stuff. And it's like, is that what you do? Because damn, Oasis is big if the second biggest company in the world is just someone who profits off of Oasis. But yeah, so I kind of have a problem with that. But this whole thing is a big bland-ass company. They basically just want to come in here, and they're the fake geeks. They're not the ones who are all really in things. They literally are. Like, that is a moment in here where she goes, if I take over Oasis, I'm going to turn all the schools into the schools from the Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller. And then he goes, oh, cool. Which school are you going to base it on the most? Richmond, and then he says another one, and then he's got some guy who's there, he goes, it's a trap, it's a trap. Those are schools from Animal House and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Those are not from the John Hughes films. And I was like, okay, it's the big business guy coming in there like, hey, cool cats.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm gonna talk to you on your level.
Yeah, he's like basically trying to like be hip and cool in order to like persuade the protagonists to like work with their company, so like when he gets the remaining keys and the Easter egg, like they will have like full access, full ownership of Oasis.
And basically he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna strip Oasis to the ground. I don't care about this thing. I'm just gonna make it. Like, the only time that you really see like his plans for it, he says like, yeah, we have done studies and found we can fill 80% of their screen with ads before it causes seizures. So it's like, yeah, he's going to have Oasis still be a thing, but he's going to basically just turn into a big, giant corporate thing. Which is like, okay, yeah, that is something that a lot of people are concerned about with those geeky things that they love, and with the internet especially. And as I said, the best thing that this movie has going for it is the time it came out, because the main villain's name is Sorrento. If you replace his name with Ajit Pai, I kept doing that the entire time I was watching this. Like, every time that someone would say line of dialogue and then say Sorrento, I would, in my mind, replace it with Ajit Pai and be like, this still works perfectly. Like, the head of the FCC who got rid of net neutrality so that basically companies can take that online thing that we use to connect and make friends and make love and create games and explore all of our creative, geeky things that we love. The guy who basically said, yeah, now companies can strip mine that for however they want. It's like, yeah, man, I know you didn't mean for that to be one of the messages of this film, but man, it is now one of the messages of this film. Like, they wanted it to just be a message about the big, generic corporate guy doing all this stuff. And it still works on that, but yeah, it also now kind of works as a message about the FCC and net neutrality. Stop digging in the couch. So yeah, that was something that I was just like, God, I probably wouldn't be liking this as much if it wasn't like, this is a movie about all the losers in their apartments who the internet is their one access way to having a life and to connecting with people and sharing the stuff that they love, and it's trying to be taken away by people. It's like, yeah, I would still enjoy this, but I wouldn't so much if it weren't for the fact that we are seeing the exact thing happening in the real world. So yeah, come on, buddy, what are you doing? Blah.
You're being so squirmy.
Such a squirm butt. Alright. So yeah, I really did dig it on that level. And I like that the main villain even looks like the principal from Breakfast Club. Like, for a second, when he first pops up, I did a double take and I was like, he's way younger than I remember him being last time. I was like, oh wait, that's not him. Okay.
I think the thing that cracks me up about him the most is like his avatar in Oasis.
Yes.
It's just him, but like bigger and buffer, and he still has the business
super
suit.
businessman.
Yeah, it's like.
And I love that he's working with like this expert hunter in Oasis who basically does nothing but just like hunt down other people in Oasis for him. And he's this big, like, got like a skull for a chest and a hood and spikes and all this stuff. But it's voiced by TJ Miller, who is just being TJ Miller. And I thought that was like a great joke about how it's like, yeah, you can have the biggest badass avatar out there, but in real life you're TJ Miller.
Yeah, pretty much.
But there came a moment in which like it became clear to me that you can use audio manipulators to like give yourself a new voice.
Yeah, that's what happened with H.
H, yeah. It was clear to me that they were doing that. So I kind of thought in that moment, how good would a joke be in here if like the voice of this guy was Clancy Brown, but he still had TJ Miller like voice lines, but then every now and again, like mid-sentence, they would cut to TJ Miller in the real world saying the same line and cut back, and it's like, alright, yeah, now it's kind of like, okay, he got this big badass voice to go with his big badass body, but it's still just TJ Miller.
Yeah, but I find it interesting, like, they never show the actual person behind the avatar.
That's pretty good, too.
So, yeah, it's like, I think that's awesome because it keeps the mystery behind him.
It's good, yeah. By the way, if you want to talk about, like, keeping the mystery, some characters, don't look up IMDb on this, because there's 5 people in Oasis who are hunting down these keys, they're the good guys. Which one of the other small problems I have with this is that they set up Parzival, they set up Artemis, they set up H. The other two characters, vaguely they mention in the beginning, then you see them like helping a little bit. Then like by the time they go to get the second key, they're there in their squad and they're all together.
Yeah, it's like
when did this become a thing?
Yeah, it's like the two Asian kids. It's like
yeah,
and it's like I figured the reason why they didn't like connect, they didn't like spend a lot of time with them is because they were like in another country or something like that.
Well, I mean in the game.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, you know, there's like, you know.
Oh, time zones.
Yeah, time zones and stuff. So I thought like maybe that's why they didn't like spend as much time together.
Well, there could be a reason why they didn't, but story-wise, just speaking of like story structure, it's weird to suddenly now have two people in your squad and they're there with you, ride or die, but you haven't seen squad of them up until that point in the movie.
Like maybe there's like a 5-person limit to how many like people you're allowed to have on your squad, like the minimum.
No, I'm not. Again, you're trying to come up with reasons why.
No, but like
I'm saying story structure wise, no man, we need a scene of like them all in like a space bar or something like.
Yeah,
have them go into the fucking cantina from Star Wars and all this stuff. They could have done that. Disney did not let them get any of their shit.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like I feel
that's
like
another reason I'm able to buy the Oasis. It's like I can believe that at some point in time in the future, Disney would own half of every properties and all the other remaining halves would go. The only way we stand a chance is if we all team up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can buy that.
Yeah, but like, in Oasis, you like group up with
clans.
Clans, yeah. So like, and you know, the main protagonist, he's like, oh, I ride alone. It's like I don't really have a clan, but these guys are my friends, but we're not considered a clan. But eventually, they come together.
Yeah, that's my other problem. Is that I was like, okay, H, his buddy Artemis, he's got a thing for her, which I also love that in this film. It does kind of speak to what like a lot of like people who don't interact in the real world are kind of like, which it was like, hey, I talked to this girl, I instantly love her now.
Yeah, like that's another thing. It's like
that was kind of weird.
No, but it's like it makes sense too because you're like socially awkward.
Yeah.
So like the only way you're able to like interact with anyone else is with like other people online.
I didn't mean it was weird as in a story structure way because I bought it for the story. I mean it was he's a weird dude. But that's what his character is. Yeah, it makes sense that he would be like that. It's like, yeah, dude, you don't get out much. You don't get to talk to a lot of other girls. This is the first girl who's ever, like, wanted to dance with you. So, yeah, it's like, all right, I can understand you instantly being like, but I love you now. But the weird thing is, like, when they, okay, a little bit more spoiler stuff. When they actually meet in the real world, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I get you love me. That's cool. Maybe this will actually turn into a thing. It's like, no, I think we should be a little bit more like, all right, let's chill down a moment there, buddy.
Or maybe it's because he's the chosen one, or like...
Well, that's true.
No, it's like, oh, he got the first key, I suddenly hot for him.
I'm just fascinated by how much of Peach we can see in the shot. So yeah, I felt like there should have been like a little bit of a moment in there when she was like, hold on, we've now met in the real world. Let's still take time to know each other.
Like, what was her real name? Like,
Sarah.
Sarah, right. Yeah, it's like in Oasis, she's like, oh, you don't love me, you only love the concept of me, you don't know what I look like in the real world, I'll be a disappointment to you. And then when they meet up, it's like, you're not really that much of a disappointment.
She's still pretty hot.
I mean, like, she has a birthmark, but it's...
That kind of bugged me a little bit, because
it's like, that is about as, like... It's basically the same.
That's not a bad birthmark.
No, it's basically like Zuko's Zuko's scar in like the live action.
It looks a lot like Zuko's scar, except that Zuko is like melted flesh. She just has kind of like reddish skin around her.
It's like, oh,
she's got like the domino, like from the comics, like the big domino thing around her eye, except it's kind of orangish.
Yeah, like I thought like maybe like she'd be like a little more frumpy or something like that.
I was expecting, like I honestly kept expecting, like for anybody who's seen Arrested Development, I thought it was gonna be like Meg from Arrested Development, like somebody who's like, you know, just like shy, wearing like a big sweater the whole time, like no, I don't want to talk to anybody. But no, she's like in like booty shorts and like torn up like stockings the first time I seen her. Was like, yeah, they still try to go, yeah. We have to make her movie appropriate ugly. It's like, they had to make her that version of ugly where if she just threw off her glasses and undid her back hair, she'd suddenly be the hottest girl in school.
Yes, but at the same time, she's like part of the rebellion. Like,
which like that's the thing that's like, okay, I understand it, but you could have gone to that a little bit more. But that does lead me into another problem with this thing. There's a moment in which the rebellion gets broken up by 101's Special Forces. And they literally have special forces. They literally have like guys in suits with tasers running in there and like beating these guys down. I was like, you're not the fucking cops. what's going on here with this? So yeah, that was just very odd to me. That it's like, how does this company just have its own private like mini military force in here? And then like when they bust Sarah in the real world, like she reveals the story of like, yeah, my dad died working in one of their labor camps because he had to pay off his debt, but they just kept increasing the debt over and over again until finally he died working there. I was like, geez, that's horrible. But then you see them like come and bust her, and then she just like wakes up in like this tube with like a headset on that she can't get off. And she's now trapped in the Oasis, working for them, and goes, we have bought all of your debt. You will now work for us until it is paid off. And I was like, how the fuck is any of this legal?
Yeah, I mean, it's like...
Like, yeah, I just kept looking at this, like, I don't think... What happened in the... Like, it's the future, so I'm giving them some slack?
But it's like, if she's an orphan, and like, is she like a minor? Like, I don't know, like child.
I don't know
labor?
anybody's ages in this thing.
Yeah,
either.
that's the thing. It's like,
Wade's 18. We know that.
Yeah. But like, and the 11-year-old kid is like, yeah, I'm 11 years old. So what?
Yeah.
And it's like,
we know that was kind of cool. But especially his rationale for not telling people why he's 11. But yeah, it just had me looking at it. I was like, okay, again, I get this is trying to make like a commentary on like corporations becoming so big and what if they just keep getting bigger and acquiring more and more power. But it is really hard for me to see like a day in the future where a company will have the power to just come up to you and just go, oh, you had a credit card debt? We bought that debt. You now wake up in a tube and you work for us until you die. And it's like, the fuck? How does that work? How is ACLU not like on their ass 24/7 with this? So yeah, I found that to be a little bit weird. That and, you know, them having a private military force for them. It's like, I don't get how any of this is a thing.
and like a thing that like got me was like the cops that show up at the end. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, you're not working for them. You're actually like being good people.
I had the exact thought when the cops popped up at the end. I went, where the hell have you been forever? Where have you ever been? Seriously, like, how is what they did at the end of this that got them busted more illegal than what they did throughout the rest of this fucking movie that they've apparently been doing for years?
Yeah, like, another spoiler, like, these guys, like, blow up, Wade's house. Like,
yeah.
Like, they're not apartment, but his stack.
It's, yeah, which is just trailers stacked on top of each other over and over and over
yeah.
because overpopulation is such a big thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they blow it up. And when Sorrento comes into the place at the end, a lady walks up to him, like the bottom stack neighbor,
yeah.
walks up to him and just goes, we all know what you did here. Get out while you still can. And then you see everybody like surrounding around him, which I thought was kind of a cool moment. But you never really got like that much of a, aside from that lady on the bottom floor, I didn't get much of a sense of like community from
yeah,
stack.
that's the thing. It's like, this movie focuses a lot on Oasis and not really much on the real world.
Which is interesting considering the final message of this film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is kind of a problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, the real world sucks, and that's why people go into Oasis, but at the same time, it's like, you want to be able to, like, establish that, like, there's some good in reality in order for them to, like, go back to it.
Yeah, it felt like that message that they tried to put in here at the very end. It was kind of like, yeah, you need a little bit more of that in there. Like, the only thing that you really get on that is when he actually meets, like, Sarah, and it's like, oh, it actually is kind of cool, like, talking to you in the real world. Like, that's nice. And then when H shows up in the real world, and he's got, like, their two buddies, the two ninja guys. Who,
the two ninjas.
Well, no, one's a ninja and one's a samurai. But they pop up there at the end, and they're just like, which, again, is like, yeah, man, I need at least, like, one scene of all of them in, like, in a bar or something, like, just chatting and chilling in there. But yeah,
well, I don't know. They might be too young to be in a bar, but like maybe in like.
Well, not like a bar, like in the real world. I'm talking like an online, like in Oasis.
Oh, okay.
I need like one scene of them like meeting up in Oasis and them like going like, okay, guys, so here we think we know what the clue is, but what do you guys think the clue is? And they're like talking back and forth, like getting some kind of establishment on it, like because you don't even hear a line of dialogue from either of those two guys until they're trying to get the second key, which is, I'd say, an hour and a half into this film.
Yeah, most of it is like narration from the protagonist, like, oh, this is H, he's my best bro, and it's just showing.
But even then, like, you get that scene of, like, them in H's workshop, like, him with Artemis in H's workshop, and you get, like, bonding moments between all of them, and then, like, when Parzival is, like, suiting up to go to the dance, like, you get a nice, like, moment between H and Parzival, like, I got, like, no scenes between them and, like, the ninja and the samurai guy.
Yeah, it's like they just mention them and that's it.
And it's a shame, because at the end of this film, when they're part of the crew, it's like, they're pretty good parts of this crew. I'm liking these guys. I'm liking them in the real world. I'm liking them in that world. But man, I needed more of them before that for me to really be rooting them on that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the samurai guy does something awesome at the end of this. And, you know, it would have been better if I had seen him before that, but it's like,
And it's like, when he meets up with H for the first time, like, another spoiler, by the way.
Yeah, this is like,
H is a girl, but, like, her avatar is, like, this big buff guy.
Yeah.
So, and she has, like, the voice just,
Yeah, it's like a voice modulator, which I kind of had a problem with the fact that the voice modulator was kind of poor on her, because I could barely understand what she was saying at some moments. Like, maybe it was just me, but I don't
know, maybe she couldn't afford a better one. But it's like, I knew that was going to be a twist because the character had a voice modulator. It's like, you're a girl in real life, aren't you?
Well, also, they have a moment in there.
Well, even before they had the moment.
Well, but I'm saying for anybody who didn't speculate at that moment, because I wasn't thinking that. The moment in which I thought that is when, like, they were having, like, the moment about, like, you don't know who Artemis is in the real world. Artemis could be some 300-pound dude named Chuck in his, like, Colorado or something. You don't know who people are in the real world. Like, when it got to that moment, I was going, I think I know what the twist is gonna be. But I was cool with that twist.
Yeah, it's like, I kind of wish, those two would hook up instead of him with Artemis.
Well,
like,
I think that
I mean, like, not, like, in the real world, because, like, they're friends and everything. Like, they have, like, a better connection than him with Sarah.
Oh, well, I can see that, but, well, I understand they're having a better connection, but I think H is gay.
Oh.
There's a moment in which they're in the Shining House, and a naked lady, and they're in that famous room, and the naked lady comes out of the tub, and like, oh, hi, naked lady. Listen, I didn't mean to get in your business. Self-care, very important. You know what? I'm just gonna go for this. And then like starts going in. I was like, yeah, H is gay. Like H was like trying to be respectful, but then was like, oh fuck, she wants to make out with me. I'm gonna make out with her. All right, cool.
Or she could have been bi. Who knows?
Who knows? Stop forcing your ship into this movie.
I'm just saying, like, you know, like...
You don't think Sarah and Wade had the best, like...
Yeah, exactly.
I bought it way more... Again, I bought that Wade was head over heels.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy that quite from Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like... Yeah, like, he was the one who gave his real name in Oasis, and she's like...
Which, again, like, instantly, which, again... Rookie fucking mistake.
Yeah, and she tells him, you are not supposed to give away your real name. There are people who will, like, find out who you are and where you are, and eventually that's what happens, and that's why his place gets blown up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, man, rookie fucking mistake. Do not give out too much information online. Especially, like, again, he just met this girl. This is the second time he's met her, and he's just instantly like, I love you. And, like, after he says, I love you, and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then, like, later, like, didn't you hear me? I said I love you. I was like, yeah, this, again, is a guy who doesn't really know how reality works. It's like, in the movies, you can say shit like that, and suddenly magic happens. This was, like, his kind of, like, dose of reality of, like, oh, just because I say I love you, like, butterflies don't start flying around and shit.
Like, if he, like, I don't know, like, maybe they get to know each other more in the real world.
Okay, yeah,
but they don't show that.
Well, I mean, there wasn't time for that.
No, like, I guess, but, like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You wish they had had more of a connection in this. Mm-hmm. I don't really think the connection's really all that important until the...
I guess not, but still, if, like, they're gonna, like, shove, like, a romantic...
You hate romance as being shoved in. I understand.
Yes, I do.
That's your thing. You hate that. I get it.
And it's like, as soon as, like, this hot girl comes in, it's like, oh, it's the love interest.
Yeah, and also, like, she's supposed to be, like, there comes that moment when she sacrifices herself for him, and I was just like, you've kind of been doing just as much heavy lifting on this mission as he has, but she does do some really good stuff while she's trapped there. Like, she's actually kicking a lot of ass at this place, too. And I actually dug, like, seeing them team up, and, like, her basically teaming up even though they're not in the same room together. Like, she is working her ass off to try and take them down from the inside, while he is working his ass to try and take them off, like, in this rolling van. Mm-hmm. And yet, when you see them in Oasis, they're side by side doing this. I'm like, that's really freaking awesome. I love seeing that. Anything else really kind of bugged me about this? Oh yeah, okay, we've been talking about how I don't really understand the rules of IOI in the real world. Like, how do they work? Like, what? How do they have all this power? What does this do? I also don't quite understand fully the rules of Oasis. Like, 90% I get it. It's a bunch of different games that you can play in this one world all underneath this one banner, and there are like multiple like little island worlds that you can go to do different things there. It's great, wonderful, perfect. But there's sometimes in which they introduce items in this thing, and all I can think is, how the fuck does that work in like, can you take the holy hand grenade into the Street Fighter world and throw that at Ryu? Like, is that like, how does that work? Or there is one item that they introduce in this game, is an item that when activated, destroys everyone, including the user. It instantly destroys everyone in the game. And like we said, if you die in the game, you lose everything that you had acquired. So all the equipment, all the gold, everything, it's all dead. I just looked at that and just went, why would you make that? Which it does come back at the end. I mean, it's Chekhov's gun. You can't introduce that and it doesn't come back at the end of this thing. But I just kept looking at it like, who the fuck would build that for this world? Like, this is a game where if someone dies and they lose like their possessions, he tries to kill himself at the beginning of the movie. So you know there's people all over the world who did stuff like that. There's a guy who was dating Wade's aunt, who he invested all the money they'd been saving for their house into upgrades for his character, and he died until he lost everything. And I was just like, dude, if someone bought that bomb and activated it, you just fucked over so many people's lives in the real world. I was like, that seems insane to me that they would do that. So I did have a problem with that in this game, movie. So that's like the last like real big problem.
Well, I did have another issue. It's like when they were like trying to like get the final key, and they were like playing an old Atari game, and it's like, and everyone else was watching. They were not watching the screen. They were watching a Percival play the game. Like, they see him, and the backside of the TV is at him. So they're not seeing him actually play the game. They're not seeing the game itself.
Okay, well,
so it's like, oh, that's kind of bullshit.
That's interesting. Okay, I can understand.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, like, if it was behind, like, it was over, if the camera angle was, like, over Percival's shoulder, and they were able to, like, see what he was playing.
Okay.
Because, like, throughout the whole thing, he was explaining to them. He was...
Oh, yeah, because, okay. All right, yeah, we're in full spoiler territory. At the end of this game, the final key is hiding in this old Atari game, which was a real game called Adventure, and it's the very first Easter egg that was ever in a video game. And he said the point of finding this key is don't get to the end of the level where you find the key. Someone put an Easter egg in, the creator of this game, actually in real life, put an Easter egg in this game, where if you just explore around, just roam around, just explore the world, you will find in this darkened room a tiny little dot. If you take that dot all the way back to the beginning of this level, then you will see created by, and it's the very first credits ever in a video game, in which you actually see the creator's name. He said in order to get the key, you don't get to the end of this, you have to do that. And he's explaining what it is.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, like, the people at home who are watching this on their screens, just watching him talk about this wouldn't be as interesting for them as actually, like, watching him do it. But I still love that scene.
Yeah, it is a very good scene. It's just like...
Because it is about, like this guy, like, man, okay. We gotta start talking about Steven Spielberg at some moment.
Yes.
This is what Steven Spielberg does right. Steven Spielberg knows how to tug on the heartstrings. And he does that in this film very well. Like, he gets to the heart of, like what it means to be a geek, because Spielberg is a big freaking geek. Like, from what I've heard from people, the whole Kubrick scene wasn't even in the book. He put it in here because he's a massive Kubrick fan. He was like, if I'm going to celebrate some geeky shit, if I'm going to put your fucking Ryu and Goro and all these people in it, if I'm going to put Battletoads in this thing, I'm going to put freaking Stanley Kubrick in here because that's my thing that I freak out over. At least that's what I have heard.
Once again, we haven't read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, so he gets like he's a big geek, and he also understands like heart and charm and like, yeah, that moment in which he is talking about this thing is like, yeah, that's like such, he is able to make someone giving a bit of trivia about video game one of the most touching moments like of any film I've seen this year. And it also, like, after that, when it all leads up to the Willy Wonka moment, where he gets Oasis and he gets the whole thing, and he basically is just having a conversation with his creator, And like you go to his creator's like bedroom and like you see like him,
his childhood bedroom and his actual like child self playing video games.
Yeah, and it's like this is where it all began, him playing video games. This is where like the spark of imagination that created all of this all came from. It came from, you know, like it didn't necessarily have to be something he invented himself. Like his imagination, his creation, just create this big thing where everybody could just celebrate and be together. Came from him just playing something that someone else already created. And yeah, it's kind of beautiful in there. And there's a moment when he like has to say like, all right, it's all yours now, goodbye. And he's like walking away, and it's him and his child self walking away. And yeah, in that moment, I was just like, anybody out there who you're a geek and you don't just like the geeky thing that you like, you celebrate the creator of that thing. Spielberg was able to capture that feeling of, I just met my hero and now I'm watching them walk off into the sunset. Like, it could be Walt Disney, it could be Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, it could be Sakurai, it could be, God, who was that guy who was the big Mario guy for a while, who passed away like 2 years ago?
Oh, shoot, what's...
God, I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, okay, man, people are screaming it in the comments. Well... I'm sorry. But yeah, it could, like, we all have those creators who's like, they made something that means something so much to me that I don't just care about the thing they created, I care about them. I got to now meet them, and they're walking off into the sunset, and I now am saying goodbye to them. Yeah, the people sitting next to me literally were crying at that moment.
Aww.
And I was getting a little choked up too myself. Like, I was like kind of thinking in my head, I was like, geez, if I like had this moment with like one of my like beloved creators, like, yeah, I'd be losing my mind right now. But yeah, I heard the two people sitting next to me, like they were holding it in.
It's like one thing, like he said is like Percival asked him like, "You're not an avatar." He was like, "No." So are you really dead? It's like, yes. So I'm like, I'm wondering if he like
put his brain in it. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Like, put his brain in Oasis or something like that.
I will always be like, it was, man. This is from Spielberg. It is kind of the I'll be right here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, like, yeah, I'm dead, but I'm always with you, buddy. Bye. Like, yeah, it's kind of that.
It's like, I find it weird, like, because, like, if he's technically living in Oasis, he can he still have control?
We don't know legal rights to this shit.
No,
let's not get into that. But yeah, that to me is what works with Spielberg on this film. I honestly believe anybody else making this film, well, not anybody else, but like 90 to 80% of all other directors out there, if they've been given this, probably would have screwed the bed so much, and it just would have been, hey, here's this thing, here's this thing, here's this thing, which to me is part of the thing, which are the parts of this film that it's neat, but it's not really a good movie.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, like, a lot of people were, like, hesitant about.
Yeah. And half this film is that, but the other half is a damn good Spielberg film.
Yeah, it's like, I think the thing, like, I kind of find kind of hokey was, like, the end where, like, the bad guy was put away in the car and everything. It's like, oh, everything's all wrapped up.
I was okay with it because, like, this felt like an 80s film to me.
Kind of,
it
but,
felt,
like...
Even though it's in the future, it felt like an 80s film. And I was like, yeah, man, this is how those 80s films end.
I guess
and I'm okay with that.
But at the same time, it's like, you have that hokey end, and then you suddenly, like, have, like, Oasis where, like, there's giant battles and everything like that. It's like, it's kind of...
But the thing with me is, a lot of the battle things, they were celebrations of the 80s. And yeah, this entire film, that's the thing. In Oasis, it's all some big, crazy sci-fi quest. And it's super fun. And I mean, like, when you're zooming around in Oasis in the beginning, like... I might actually go back and see this again in 3D, because I am interested in seeing how good the 3D is. But every moment that's in the real world, it's an 80s film. It's 100% an 80s film. So yeah. I was okay with that ending, because like, yeah, man, you might as well, like, they even had the Back to the Future music playing as he got wheeled off, and it's like, he might as well have fallen into a pit of manure at the end of this. I hate manure!
Yeah, but like, once again, they didn't really focus a lot on the real world,
I do need more of the real world.
That's why I kind of felt like the 80s vibe kind of jarring a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so like, if they did focus more on the real world, then I'd be like, oh, hey, that's cute, or something like that.
Understandable. For me, it focused on it enough for me to get. I want more of the real world, but I was able to get that 80s feel from it. But I can understand if you want more of it. But let's go into, this is kind of, like I said, about like 90 to 80% of all of the directors could totally screw this up. because they wouldn't have been able to get like that charm and that heart in there. However, there is one problem that I have with Spielberg on this movie, which is that Spielberg, he gets the heart, he gets the charm, he gets like what it means to be a geek. But when it comes to the fan service of this film, which is also a big chunk of this, when it's something that he loves, like Kubrick, man, he is there. He gets this. The Kubrick sequence, if you like Kubrick, you're gonna love it. I should stop saying Kubrick. The Shining. Because they don't deal with HAL 9000 or anything like that. Like, The Shining. They specifically go into the Shining world. Man, you could tell that Spielberg was a kid in a candy shop on that one. And when it comes to, like, the Iron Giant, which was his creation, like, yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, when it comes to a bunch of other 80s things, you can tell, like, he was in love with it and all that. But when it comes to the stuff that clearly came after his generation, he didn't give a crap. He was just like, just put it on screen. Which, in all fairness, the stuff that came after all that was definitely more expensive. So maybe it was a money thing. Like, hey, man, you want to use this character? Cool, that's fine. You got 5 frames. Not 5 seconds, 5 frames. So 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I felt like is like the stuff that they pay tribute to is great, but the stuff that's just
that's where that, like I said, 50% of this film is, oh, hey, they said a thing I know. That's nice. That's what that is with this film, is that it's like, yeah, some of the stuff they mentioned here, man, that's like the stuff with the adventure game at the end. Man, yeah, if you have any, like, connection to, like, creators in video games, you're gonna start getting, like, choked up at that moment with, like, how much he's focusing on that. But, like, a lot of the other stuff he's throwing in there, like, let me put it to you this way. This is a movie where they got to have Street Fighter characters and Mortal Kombat characters together. You're not going to give me a shot on the final battlefield of, like, Ryu and Sub-Zero back-to-back fighting guys off or anything like that?
Yeah,
like,
seriously?
Yeah, they got Tracer in here, which, you want to talk about how this might be a money thing? Battleborn, every fucking character from Battleborn is in there. And if you like Battleborn, you're gonna love this. You're gonna be spotting them all over the place. Yeah, it's that one, it's that one, it's that one, it's that one, it's that one. Battleborn kind of crashed.
Yeah.
And you can buy them for a can of tab. Overwatch, you get Tracer. That's it. Nobody else. Everybody else. Put all your money into Tracer. Well, that's okay. First time you see Tracer, she zips up and stands in line, and you hear the sound when she does her little zip. And it's like, oh my god. Like, I actually perked up. I was like, ooh. When I heard that sound, I was like, oh, okay. But that's like a quarter of a second, like, standing in line. After that, when the army starts coming to, like, fight the big bad guy there at the end, you see her next to Chun-Li. Yeah! That was it. That was the entire shot. And I was like, you're not gonna give me like a, like, you know, you couldn't get like 5 seconds of the Overwatch, like, victory score, and, like, you're not gonna give me, like, you know, one shot of, like, da-da-da, da-da-da, like a pulse bomb she throws on someone and blows up. Like, no, just like, yeah.
It's like, I'm here, now I'm gone.
Yeah. Or it's like, there's stuff in here that even is like, okay, I know you have this because I know the company who made this owns the rights to this. It didn't cost them anything to put, like, you know, DC characters in here, because this is Warner Brothers, I believe.
Yes.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, it is.
So it doesn't cost you anything to put DC characters in here. And you've got the Iron Giant in here. You're not going to give me, like, Superman helping out the Iron Giant? It's like, that seems like a slam dunk, and that one wouldn't have cost you anything. So yeah, there's, like, stuff like that that just seems like, listen, if you saw that trailer with all the characters charging in, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. They're gonna be tiny-ass things in the background shooting guns. That's it. The only one to actually do things. There's a moment in which, like, they're tossing Parzival weapons to use. Parzival and Armis, they're driving up in the DeLorean, which the DeLorean gets some good, like, geeky references in here, so that's pretty good. They're driving around the DeLorean, and other characters are throwing them guns to use as they're going, which I dug that feeling of, like, the community coming together. That's one of the things I love about geek communities. The community. People coming together to help out other people. So it's like, okay, I love that part of this. And then throwing them weapons, and like, okay, it's just like a railgun. Yay, railgun. There's a moment in which H goes, try this, and throws them Chucky.
Yeah.
And Chucky is, like, trying to stab them in the car, and then they throw them at the bad guys, and you see Chucky jumping from one to the next to them. That's a good sequence. But again, there's part of me that's like, yeah, but you also have Jason in this movie. after Chucky stabs a few guys, doesn't like jump and like start riding on like Jason's shoulder as like the two of them go charging. So I was like, come on, man, there's stuff you could have done with this that could have been like really damn cool.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, this movie is over 2 hours, so it's like...
But I'm describing like 5-second sequences, and imagine how many shots in here are just of like, here's a big crowd just of little tiny figures shooting things. It's like, take out one of those shots, give me a close-up shot on like Chun-Li and, you know, Scorpion like fighting people or something like that. It's like, yeah, really short things in here. Like, the Iron Giant dies in here by falling into a pill lava, and when it falls in the pill lava, it gives the Terminator
thumbs up.
Which is really damn cool, but it's like, okay, man, that's really cool, but that has nothing to do with the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Fucking Superman and him fighting together takes up, you know, 2 seconds, nothing. And just slam dunk, it's right fucking there. There's a moment in which you see, like, a bunch of superheroes charging in together. And it's all DC characters and Spawn there in the front. And for a quarter of a second, I was impressed that they got Spawn. And then I remembered Todd McFarlane will let you use Spawn for a roll of pennies. Todd McFarlane will show up at your doorstep, like, hungry to give you Spawn. It's like, come on, man, listen, we can work out this deal to have Spawn in your movie. I don't want Spawn in the movie. You want Spawn in the movie? What? It's like, no, how much do I have to give you to go away? You're gonna give me what to get Spawn in the movie? It's like, I will give you a ham sandwich to just leave me alone right now, and I'll put Spawn in the fucking movie. Sold for a ham sandwich. Oh, Todd McFarlane, you did it again. I had someone on our last Twitch segment, on our last Twitch stream, asking me, what do you think about Spawn getting another movie? It's like, I think Todd McFarlane says he's getting another movie, because he's been saying it for 2 decades now. Yeah, so Spawn, he's not that expensive, but exactly, it was like, not gonna have like Spawn and Batman like fighting off guys together? I mean, you got him. He's in the movie. Not gonna do, that's the problem. There's so many cool guys in here, cool characters that they got to use, and they didn't use them.
Yeah.
And again, it could have been a money thing. It could have been a money thing, which is like, yeah, you can use their appearance. Slightly more than a freeze frame of them is what you're allowed to use. And like, okay, fine. So it kind of stinks, that stuff. But there are good ones in there. Like, Chucky was pretty good. They could have done more with it by having him, like, Jason or some other horror things. Like, they can use aliens in here. Like, Fox gave them a lot of properties. So it's like, yeah, man, you got other horror icons in here you can use. But the two that actually were good, I thought. And this one actually, like, anytime in which you have kids, like, really just loving geeky stuff, I kind of get choked up a little bit. And there's a moment in which you see, like, the IOI guys. They're, like, chasing down the van that our heroes are in. And then they're, like, looking around like, what is everyone doing? And they just see, like, everybody, like, fighting, like, running around in VR. And it's like, that's really cool, seeing, like, all the community come together. Like I said, I love seeing, like, geeky communities come together. But there's a moment in which they see a bunch of kids just kicking and punching, and then it cuts into that world. It's the Ninja Turtles kicking and punching. I was like, that's how you do it. That took 2 seconds, and that's how you do it. Because, like, yeah, group of 4 little kids who daydream about being Ninja Turtles. You cut into the Oasis. They're the Ninja Turtles, and they're doing the same kicking and punching that they're doing in the real world. Yeah, you did it, man. That's it. You nailed it. I'm there with you. Awesome. So that was a great one. And again, like I said, you're saying that this is over like 2 hours, so it didn't need to go on any longer. That was maybe 2 seconds in there. You can do quick stuff like that would have made this like so much more enjoyable for me. But the other one that is really cool in here, the Gundam. The Gundam is the one that actually gets to like show off what I can do. Like, Iron Giant gets a lot of play in here because it's a Spielberg property. And he loves, and you know, so Spielberg's directing it, that's fine. But Iron Giant is not really like a brawler.
No, like that was like the whole point of the movie. Like...
Which I saw when they released artwork of this film, and it showed the Iron Giant firing his eye lasers. So many people got pissed at it, and I was just like, guys, I understand. That's not the actual Iron Giant.
It's an avatar.
It's an avatar, guys. Come on. It's like, Knuckles is not actually going around saying, like, will you be the queen, or whatever it was.
Like, show me the way, or some shit like that.
Whatever that dumbass thing was for 5 seconds. The moment I saw that, I was like, this is going to get old real quick. But yeah, it's like, it's an avatar, man. It's not actually doing it. It's not, they're not going against the will of its creator. They're not, Spielberg didn't sell out the Iron Giant. It's like, it's a fucking avatar. Like, you can do whatever you want with an avatar. But yeah, it was still like, yeah, the Iron Giant shouldn't be the one that, like, beats up Mechagodzilla, which, Mechagodzilla is an example of when this movie works and doesn't work for me, because Mechagodzilla is in there and it looks awesome and it's doing really cool stuff in there and it's an actual like thing. It's not like, oh, it's real quick in the background, hey Mechagodzilla, and now we're gone. No, it's an actual like villain that they have to fight in here. But then when they're like driving up and they go, it's Mechagodzilla, I was like, it kind of reminds me of how stupid all this is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you like just point things out randomly.
That's what it is. Like, trust the audience to know what it is. Like, that's what it is. Like, yeah, that's... But part of me is also kind of happy they did that, because I was going, is that supposed to be Mechagodzilla? Because it looks cooler than Mechagodzilla. Like, it's an updated version of Mechagodzilla.
Like when it was being assembled and it like kind of was like shining green, I was like, I thought this was Mechagodzilla, but it started to look more like Reptar.
I thought Reptar for a second too. I did. I thought it was Reptar for a second. Yeah, I thought it was Reptar for a second as well. So there was part of me, like when he reached in his back pocket to pull out the mini version of it, it looked like Mechagodzilla, but then it started looking at like Reptar and I was like, I don't know what this is now. Like I really did for a second think, this is like a generic, not Mechagodzilla, but Mechagodzilla things. Like, how legally distinct from Mechagodzilla can we get? So part of me was still glad that they said it, because it was like, oh, it is. Okay,
yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, Iron Giant shouldn't be the one to take it out. So when you have the samurai guy come out and go, I choose, because he's been sitting there in their thing the whole time. Like, they're all suiting up to fighting. He's sitting there in the van, just in like crouched meditative position.
Yeah, like deciding like what form to take or something like that.
And they're just like, we need you now! We need you now! And then at the end, he finally walks down and goes, I choose the form. Gundam. And then he comes down, and yeah, he suits up and turns into the Gundam. And the Gundam, like, you want to talk about how you do good geeky shit in here? The Gundam does the pose. And I was like, fuck yes! That's how you do it. And the, like, 1 minute fight scene between the Gundam and Mechagodzilla is better than all the robot kaiju fights in Pacific Rim that we just watched. Like, man, I felt a little bit bad after our review of Pacific Rim, which I was like, yeah, I just don't like the art design of any of this stuff, and I don't think any of it really looks cool. And then 1 minute of the Gundam fighting Mechagodzilla went, no, I stand by what I said about Pacific Rim. I stand by that shit. Which, by the way, for anybody mad at me about that, we're about to have someone on the show next week who is a massive Pacific Rim fan, so he can come in here and tell you how cool it is. But yeah, I was digging that, and it's like, that's how you do it. That worked. Way to go. So there are moments in here in which it really works. And a lot of, and even though, yeah, whenever someone just stopped to go, it's this thing, or they stopped to specifically focus on something, like when the chest burster came out of Goro's chest, and like it just stood there, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. It's like, it's just kind of like, it seemed cheesy and pandering. But there's really cool shit in the background. What's probably like the coolest thing like you picked up on that you think someone might not have noticed? Can you think of something?
Shoot, I don't know. Like, I saw Hello Kitty in the background. I don't know how cool it was, but...
But for you, like, that was a good one.
It's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah. That was the first time in which, that was the second time that I remember seeing a Battleborn guy, because like the big demon guy from Battleborn was on the other side of the road from the Hello Kitty, and I was like, 2 seconds ago we saw the weird crazy witch spider lady from Battleborn, like 3 of them staying next to next, and I was like, yeah, you really went to the bargain bin on that one to like fill up this roster. Either that or they started making this thing 2 years ago and they were just like, Overwatch, no one's gonna care about that one character, we'll just spend that on that. But Battleborn, that's the shit. No, Battleborn was just way cheaper. That's what it was. I spotted so many Battleborn characters in there. Which I know that I actually have viewers who are Battleborn fans. I follow them on Twitch, and they love it. So I am glad you guys got this, and you get to enjoy that. But the coolest one that I noticed is when they were in H's like bunker and like his workshop. And in the background was the swordfish from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh.
One of his like little things was Spike's thing from Cowboy Bebop. And I was like, that's really fucking cool. I have no idea who owns like the rights to that, but I guess like they're making that Cowboy Bebop TV show now, so someone owns the American rights to it and they could do it. But yeah, that was an awesome thing, which had me really kind of upset that like all the really geeky stuff, like they had to be in the way background.
Yeah, like
at the end of this thing, like the ship from Firefly is used in here. And it's like, okay, that's pretty darn cool. Because that has a huge following, and they were able to recognize that. But I kind of wish that like we had again gotten like 1 second of like the swordfish like flying in with like a jazzy soundtrack as it like zoops in and out of stuff, and like, yeah, man, just little shit like that. Like could have been 2 freaking seconds.
Yeah, like I know like because of like copyright issues they couldn't like get like everybody, but it's, like,
obviously, yeah.
I mean, because it's like If
like,
it were...
apparently in the, I was just listening to a podcast about this. Apparently in the book, it's not the Iron Giant, it's Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
But the legal rights to Ultraman are some of the most fucked legal rights on the planet. Because, like, 20 different people own, like, 20 different versions of it, and none of them can agree on anything. Like, there's an Ultraman manga that started coming out, and it is so... even though it's in continuity with the old Ultraman, apparently he can't be a giant guy anymore. He now has to be, like, a Super Sentai normal-sized guy. He's like, yeah, that's how fucked over his rights have gotten over the past couple of years.
Yeah, but it's like, if it weren't for the copyright issues, I think it'd be like a lot more, like, way more interesting, like, cameos and like more characters in the foreground.
Yeah, again, it's like, okay, is it copyright? Is it like you're only allowed to use it this much? Or you can use it more, but it's gonna cost you a little money.
Like, if money and copyright was not an issue.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like, man, like, if this was like more realistic or something like that, I don't know, but it's like, there'd be like more Pokemon, there would be Naruto and everything.
Again,
like
it's one of those things in which it's like, oh yeah, that's one of those things in which there comes that moment in which they're at the library and he says, no adult avatars, and then I was like, yeah, I bet there's like a seedy underbelly to the Oasis. There's a weird section that they don't talk about in here. Or there's like a weird, like, crappy ripoff version of the Oasis where it's like, yeah, it's all that stuff, but like, sex is allowed, and it's just nothing but a weird, shitty brothel. They don't want to make that movie. Although the porno version of this writes itself. Ready Player Bone. I just came up with that right now, and you know it's gonna be the title. So yeah, it is one of those things which, like, the cool stuff that they could have done in here, it feels, you know, I don't know if it so much was a money thing or if it was just like Spielberg doesn't understand the younger stuff.
Yeah.
Because there is a moment at the end of this thing in which Parzival has to face down the big bad business guy, and he starts pulling his hands back, and I was like, is he gonna do a Hadouken? And yeah, he goes, Hadouken! And he shoots it out. I was like, that's pretty cool. But it also kind of felt like someone just told him, okay, you gotta do a Hadouken. I don't know what that is. Just have the character, like, it's this thing in Street Fighter. I'll show you on a YouTube video. Okay, I guess I can do that thing. I don't play Street Fighter. This isn't my thing that I do. Okay. Yeah, it's
like make him go Super Saiyan. Super what?
I did have that moment in which I was like, who owns the Dragon Ball rights? Because the fact that Goku isn't in here is a little bit shocking. Because you know someone still has the American rights to Dragon Ball. Yeah, it is kind of, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, he does the Hadouken. That's awesome, but like, it didn't feel as epic as a Hadouken should feel to me. It felt like, yeah, Spielberg was like, I don't really know what the point of this, alright, it's a fireball, cool, alright, whatever. But again, in my mind, I'm also like, have him do more than the Hadouken. Like, have him like do a Hadouken, Shoryuken, like spinning bird kick, have him do like the raging demon, just glide across the room, and then like, man, I would have lost my shit if after he does the Hadouken, he then like comes in, like does a few other moves, and then he just like slides across the room at him, and then the screen goes black and just boom, 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 ching, like him standing there in the middle.
Like have Artemis do a magical girl transformation and kick everyone's ass. Like seriously,
man. I know we're mostly referencing a lot of like anime and video game shit, but
like that's what a lot of like online communities are like. So that's what they're into.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like. Shit, maybe not her, but maybe like H.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Nah, H likes her body. That's good for her. But yeah, it does also kind of seem like, yeah, it feels like there should be a tad more anime in this thing, but they got Gundam. So, you know what, it was like, again, the rights to anime are so all over the goddamn place. The fact that they got Gundam, it's like, alright, you know, not just Gundam, we got Gundam fighting Mechagodzilla. And again, a lot of people are like, we talked for an hour about how much we like the heart and everything about this. And I wanted to do that to make it very clear to you. I'm not just praising this thing because we got the Gundam versus Mechagodzilla.
Right.
But that's also part of this film, so we have to applaud when it does it well, because, yeah, a lot of the times in this film it's just kind of like, that's the name. Here's the name of the thing. That's also the name of the thing. Yay, this thing. Yeah, and it feels like they could have done more with it. Even if they were only allowed to use these characters for like a quarter of a second. It feels like they could have done more. Because yeah, like I said, that Ninja Turtles thing, quick.
Yeah.
The only thing they could have done to make that better was have, like, while they're fighting, you just hear Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Like, yeah. Like, just something quick like that, or, you know, that was another thing. I don't feel like there's enough I don't feel like there's enough geeky music in here.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Because really all we get is the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
We get, like, the Back to the Future theme, which is great.
And it's like, they do use 80s music, but, like, not, like, 80s, like, theme song.
Yeah, theme songs, perfect. Because, yeah, we got, fuck, I just said 2 seconds ago. Back to the Future, we got that. I think Willy Wonka was in here at one point. It's in the trailers, so maybe that's why I'm just imagining it. But yeah, it feels like, you know, come on, man, there's really amazing video game music out there. There's really good, like, cartoon music out there. It's like, in that final battle, like, give us, you know, like I said, give us some Street Fighter music in there. So, like, when he's powering up the Hadouken, like, give us, like, a little bit of, like, Ryu's theme in the background for a quarter of a second. It's like, yeah, I didn't really notice that, but there might have been some really subtle stuff that I didn't notice. Because there are, like, quick audio cues in here that are, like, one sound effect, and I'm like, I don't know where that came from. But that was definitely a thing. So, yeah, it could have been stuff I missed. But, yeah, so this film, the geeky references, it could have done a little bit better than just, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. But when it does do that better, it's pretty darn good. And aside from that, the other half of this film, it's a really damn good film about what it means to be a geek, what it means to be in the geek community, what it means to stand up against the big nasty corporation that's trying to take the thing that you love and that unites you with other people away from you. And it's got a ton of heart to it. So yeah, I really did enjoy this thing.
I enjoyed it too.
I would actually be willing to watch this again. I'll tell you this, I'm gonna own it on Blu-ray just to freeze frame on everything. Because that is another amazing thing about this. Everything is something. There's no, like, generic ass avatars in here. Like, the only, like, generic ass avatars are our main characters. Excuse me. Yeah, that's it. Which, because, yeah, you're not going to follow around Goku for the entire time. So, yeah, I did really dig this. There was something else I want to mention about this. I'm totally blanking on it. I can't remember. I'll probably remember later and then never talk about it again. But, yeah, thank you guys very much. Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm fine.
All right, cool. So, yes, that was our post-Geekout reaction for Ready Player One. I might do an official review of it, like maybe a mini review, like a 5-minute little thing, just to, like, let people know what I think, because I feel like this is something I probably should talk about more officially, rather than just us rambling on the channel. So we'll be doing that sometime this weekend. But also this weekend, I'm also reviewing the new Tyler Perry movie. Yeah. So if you want to see me talk about shitty movies, yeah. I don't know, this one might be good. Eventually he's gonna get one right. His acting's getting pretty good. I'll give him that. He was in that Ben Affleck movie. He's pretty okay in it. Anywho, so if you want to see that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see us just talk about all kinds of random geeky shit every single week, we do a comic book video every single Wednesday, and we also do video game stuff on the weekend. So thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next time.
Bye.
Bye.